Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We are going to be talking about beta again. I guess this is the first time we've been talking exclusively about beta. So we're going to be talking the beta draft format, and I guess there's a couple iterations of the beta format, but we're going to be going through all of that today. Since the last time we talked, we both won a big Cornerstone event, so that's pretty cool. I don't know, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience with the Cornerstone?
Yeah. For us, it was in a small shop actually, so we were only 16 players. So it was really LGS local guys. 16 players. I don't really play constructed, so I just got a deck from Boateng, who did amazingly in a Sorcery Fest. And I tweaked it a little bit, and I was just extremely lucky. I went for a Pathfinder Blue Control just to have some fun, but the deck really did its thing, and I said I was lucky a few times. And honestly, Green Knight, that card won me so 2 out of the 4 games.
Nice.
But it was great fun. Very happy to win. Didn't expect it.
Very cool. Are you going to the,
You?
the Crossroads in Europe?
Yeah, for sure. So that's
Nice.
mid-September. It's already 2, 3 weeks, and that is a bit of a head scratch. I have no clue what I will be playing, so all tips are welcome.
Nice. Yeah, I saw your deck list from the Cornerstone, and the way that people were talking about the decks that were brought, it was like totally an open meta. Like people were just drafting or just playing a bunch of kind of janky constructed decks that were fun and
Well, there were
interesting. Like
some.
it's cool.
They were all quite strong, but like unexpected stuff. Like my first game opponent opened with Pond into Grey Wolves, and I was like, oh no, because I didn't have mass removal or control. So I was like, okay, so yeah, every game was a sweat. That's the least I can say.
Nice. Yeah, that's really fun.
And you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I made a whole video on my Cornerstone experience winning the limited championship at Gen Con, so you can check that out if you want to. But yeah, that was such a blast, and I'm so glad that we recorded our set reviews for Arthurian Legends before that event, because there were a couple of key cards that we talked about that made a huge difference in that final draft that we did. So
Exactly.
yeah, you can check that out.
So
And
it's a proof that we know what we're talking about.
yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and I guess it's a good segue. So beta, I don't have nearly as much experience drafting beta because really, like I said in our first video together, I started playing sorcery when it came out in the Kickstarter, and then I kind of didn't touch it for like almost a year because there just wasn't like a scene around me, and then I kind of picked it back up after Arthurian Legends came out. So haven't done much drafting of like just 3 packs of beta. Like I've probably only actually done like a couple drafts of just 3 packs of regular old beta. So I'm going to lean on you a lot more for this, but I still have some opinions from watching gameplay and doing the gameplay that I've seen and just my initial thoughts on reading all the cards. Obviously, I've played with pretty much all the cards. I just haven't played in like specifically the 3 packs of beta environment. So that'll be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, for me it's a bit different. I started playing Sorcery when beta came out, and I didn't know anything really. It was because with the friends we said do not look up the rules, and then in January 2024 we started our first tournaments, and that was beta because there was nothing else. And so every month, and then when the Discord started to grow, every week we started to draft. So I don't know how many. I think I cracked every possibility. And also because I didn't know Sorcery, I really went through all the phases. Like in the beginning, I played with Siege Ballista and all the things just to really figure out when you lose hardcore that you should not play that card. So it's really, yeah. So there is a special place for me because beta, 3 packs of beta with Sorcerer and the Desert of Towers, that is, yeah, the first year, basically, nothing else that we played. So I can say I know it in and out. So happy to share my experience, but of course, there is probably still stuff to discover.
I just wanted to do a quick interjection and to explain what we are talking about to make sure it's clear. In original alpha and beta draft, prior to Arthurian Legends coming out, Spellslinger and these 4 sites didn't exist. So the default that you used to have is you would have Sorcerer as the default avatar, and you could put any number of villages, deserts, rivers, and towers into your deck because these ordinary sites with no abilities didn't exist yet. So there was like a big kind of disparity between how powerful these sites are, and that was really important. And then also like Sorcerer kind of just powered out like all of the really interesting avatars. So that is what we're talking about. So for the purposes of this video, we're going to be focusing on the current draft format, which is when Arthurian Legends came out, then they created the Spellslinger avatar and the 4 basic ordinary sites with no abilities. Yeah. So I think for the purposes of this, we probably should stick to like the current draft environment where you don't get to just put a bunch of deserts and towers and stuff in your deck and you play with Spellslinger. But at the end, we can maybe talk a little bit about the Sorcerer format that was originally around, and the deserts and towers and rivers just being like freely put into your deck at the end of the draft.
Yeah, because honestly, so perhaps we should call it an alpha draft, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But for me, the game is completely different.
Yeah.
If you decide Spellslinger versus Sorcerer, or even the draft sites versus the desert and the towers, etc., that really has such a huge impact on the dynamic of the game. So yeah, sure. So if I understand correctly, we do Spellslinger with the normal ordinary draft sites.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna start with speed of the format. Do you want to start?
Yeah. So if we talk about Spellslinger and the regular sites, then of course it is way different than back in the day with the Sorcerer. And then I think we talked a little bit about it, that the true format is a mid-range format. So then I would tend to agree. With the Sorcerer, you could double draw, but with Spellslinger, that is not possible, of course. Mm-hmm. And then it's a way more linear curve, I think. Then beta is way slower, and you have less options. So that means that if you can get ahead, because in beta there is way more removal in beta than in Arthurian Legends. And they come more one by one. I bury your thing, you grapple shot my thing, and I lightning bolt your thing. So if you get behind, sometimes with Spellslinger overall, it's difficult to get back, especially if you counted basically each other, you're down to your last card, and basically you're top decking. So there with beta, it's a bit different then. Because it tends to go slower. Arthurian Legends, we talked about it in the other video, the pace is higher, much higher even, and you have just a more balanced effects or minions in all the 4 elements, which is a bit different in beta. But how do you see the speed in beta?
Yeah, I agree. So definitely feels very mid-range compared to Arthurian Legends. There's tons of powerful minions at 5+ mana, and it turns out that you just get there a lot of the games because of the really good removal, and there's not lances or stealth around, which really pushes the aggression in Arthurian Legends. It feels, I think, more tempo in Arthurian Legends because you can blow someone out with a lance, and then you have multiple things on board and they have nothing on board. Whereas in beta, I imagine the experience is a lot more what you're talking about, with just tons of 1-for-1s. You just play a minion, they play a minion, and probably you're just going to trade your minion for their minion. And that's just going to happen a bunch of turns in a row. And then eventually there'll be some big finishers that come into play that are just hard to deal with. And you have to 2-for-1 yourself to get rid of them and stuff like that. So I think you just get into the late game a lot more often than you do in Arthurian Legends, which means 7 drops are a real thing in beta. And I'm kind of curious to hear your experience with 8 drops in the beta format, the current beta format.
I do must say that there is a real difference in power level to the cards. You have I don't know, if I have to guess 30-40% at least is just not playable in beta if you play limited. And then there's 30% which is fillers C cards that are okay. And then the other, let's say 30 to 40% is really like, okay, these cards you really have to have in your deck. So if you're drafting with less experience players and you can get more of them, you will probably end up very high. I'm thinking about cards like Grapple Shot or Blink. Like in the beginning we didn't know, is Blink better than Teleport? Like the one going one space or anywhere you want, your avatar can escape. You don't know. Well, Blink is like 10 times as good as Teleport, of course. So these cards all exist. Beta has a lot of powerful cards, and if you can Blink, you can also do the hey surprise, kill you and whatever. If you have Whirling Blades, etc., they break the game completely. So there's so much to watch out for in beta of powerful cards, but you have to be really on point in how you draft. It's way easier to have a lot of okay to good playables in Arthurian Legends. In beta, you really have to be careful, like that you get your 17 minions and that you have enough spells, etc. So that is more difficult, I would say. So you also need to be more conscious about what is happening in the draft pool. Because perhaps it's already a jump ahead, but everybody hates water. And the reality is that then all the three other elements are played a lot and they are contested. So somebody at the table or two players will have to go to water because you will just not have enough cards, etc., etc. So that is actually, I found it always quite interesting dynamic actually.
Yeah, I think like the newer player probably gets punished a lot in beta. Like if they just don't know the format and they don't know that water is really bad, like they're just going to see that water's really open and they're going to go into it and they're going to draft a deck that just doesn't really function.
Oh, for sure. Like like if you just have a couple of drafts on your belt and you're going to play against somebody who did 20, 30 drafts, that will be very difficult. Now, I'm a very stubborn person also. So I really wanted to make water work because I was thinking like, okay, if waters is so uncontested, if you can pick up all the waters, is it then still good? Is it viable? And so I found my version. I have no issue playing water. If possible, I don't play it, but I can play it. But there are some big traps to avoid. Some cards you really should not play.
All right, well,
yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, we'll get to that stuff in a little bit.
Sure.
So I guess to round out the speed of the format conversation, I just wrote down some important ordinaries. So probably like the card that I think of when I think of beta is Amazon Warriors. It's just like the card that I want to first pick, probably over most of the exceptionals, and it's just such a powerhouse for an ordinary. And it's funny, I was like posting around on like Reddit and Facebook one of my deck lists recently where I was splashing Earth for an Amazon Warriors, and like everyone was like, what are you doing like forcing an Amazon Warriors into your deck? And like the truth is, like Amazon Warriors is basically like a 2-for-1 on its face. Like it's really hard to just kill it outright unless you have like one of these like hard removal spells, which there are some in beta, but like most of the time you just get a 2-for-1 every time you play Amazon Warriors, and it's probably just the best ordinary in the set.
For sure. It's the best minion. Just because of the whole stat line thing, 3 for 3, 4 for 4, 5 for 5. Amazon Warriors is one of the few ones, 5 for 5. But not only that, it's just the one threshold that makes that difference.
Yeah.
You can always play it. You can always play it on turn 5. You can splash for it. So yeah, it is really what you want, and 5-power minions just are so difficult to deal with, and they just kill you so quickly.
Yep. And then I just have a bunch of other ordinaries written down. Like these are all just like the powerhouses of beta draft. So I have Sandworm is just an incredible card. It's just a 4 for 4, which, and a lot of people aren't playing water, so like the land bond thing isn't usually that big of a drawback. Bosk Troll is obviously great. Violence amazing. And then there's Grapple Shot and Blink are the two air cards that I think of the most at ordinary. And then cards that I think of in water are Pirate Ship and Sea Serpent, just because they're like, you just don't want to play these cards. Like they just kind of break water. But again, we'll get to those later on when we talk about water. And then I think of like the ordinary sites, because there's only 4 different ordinary sites. I mean, they have different names and there's actually 12 of them, but It's just the river, the tower, the desert, whatever the other one is. The village.
The villages. Yeah.
So yeah, super important to the format just to know all those cards. And okay, so the next thing we have is the mana curve. And as you mentioned, yeah, there's a bunch of junk in the packs, and I've mentioned this before. Like the curve, I think, is just like a little bit off, and that kind of helps the mid-range feeling of the format, because you might just not end up with the perfect curve that you want to have, and you're actually, I think, rewarded a lot for having a higher curve, so it kind of works out. It's kind of the chicken and the egg, which created that mid-range feel to the format. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't think I really need to go through this, but basically you're gonna have a little bit less like 2-drops and 1-drops in this versus Arthurian Legends. Like, you're really rewarded for having a 2-drop because there were lances at 3 mana that you wanted to put on a minion right away. And yeah, honestly, your 2-drop's just going to trade for another 2-drop most of the time, and it's going to be totally
I think
fine.
it's also the effect of the Spellslinger. I mean, around turn 5, Spellslinger is just there to draw some sides. And in Arthurian Legends, you could say it's time to move forward because you don't need more than 6 mana, I guess. And you have a lot of spells actually, like Arc Lightning, etc., that you have to be near. That is less in beta. So I would say in beta, the Spellslinger, you will just keep on drawing sides for your Clansman warriors or the bigger minions. But overall, I wouldn't not go too crazy, because if your opponent has the blinks and the grapple shots, etc., you will get beaten down. So I would say even more in beta, the 3-part minions are really important. Those are really relevant, and that's why I think Boss Troll is such a strong card, because it's 3-part minion that lands early. So yes, but I would say don't overdo it. Don't go too high, because then of course if you get stuck in your hand in the beginning with them, then you will also lose. So yeah, the balance is still there.
All right. Element ranking is next. So I will go through my thoughts on these, and you can correct me as I go.
Sure.
So at the top I have fire. I don't think there's a huge gap between fire and earth as the second, but so I guess I'll just read them out. So I have fire, and then earth, and then I have air, and then there's kind of a cliff between air and water. I think water is like significantly worse than the other 3 elements. And fire is good because it's super deep. If you just count up all the ordinaries and exceptionals that are like powerful, like you really want to play them, or just the ones that are just always going to make your deck, like there's just a ton of them. And this is the element of 2-for-1s is what I discovered when I was just like looking through all the ordinaries and exceptionals. So these are all the ordinaries and exceptionals that you can normally get 2-for-1s with. It's like half of them, but Firebolts, Minor Explosion, Violent, Heat Ray, Incinerate, Sacred Scarabs, Deserts, Clamor of Harpies, Bane Widow, Colicky Dragonettes, Quarrelsome Kobolds, Petrosian Cavalry. Like every single one of these cards, you can imagine a scenario where you can easily get a 2-for-1 with them. And Earth just doesn't really have that. Like, it has more just like beefy minions that like kind of like the Amazon Warriors, like I said, is kind of just a 2-for-1 on its face, but it doesn't just like get a 2-for-1 immediately like all these fire cards do. So I think that's the power of fire. Like, it's really going to win the attrition battle a lot more than Earth will. Earth will just beat you down a lot faster, I guess. But yeah, so Earth, like I said, just has powerful minions, and it has fewer removal spells, but it also has like some of the best ones, which are Bury and Cave In.
Yeah, and back in the day, Entangled Terrain was also not to mess around with. Now, because of the rule change, minions can start attacking. But honestly, if you could entangle terrain with 2 or 3 of their minions and just have one side out on their side to start doing damage, you could just win the game. Also, at the end, if you're on death's door, you have like 5 blockers. Entangle terrain would just nullify everything, and your avatar could kill him, etc. So, yeah, But I completely agree. Like Amazon War is higher than any of the other fire cards, but you just have way more playable fire cards. Like the Sirocco Scorpions, like 2 mana, 2-part lethal. That is such an amazing good card. Vile Imp, Sandworm. Also, one of my favorites, the Sacred Scarabs. Just because it's a walking grenade and it deals 4 damage, or it basically can kill a sandworm easily, or even an Amazon warrior with the desert, etc. So yeah, those things are really good. But also the Rimland Nomads, the +1 movement. Yeah, it's like all these cards, Patrician Cavalry, Charge in, yeah, Fire by far is the best. And thus the very logical conclusion, what you said with water being out, is that everybody plays Fire Earth and then with a splash of air. And that is exactly what we saw after 6 to 9 months of grinding it out. And then the funny thing is that it doesn't matter which cards you start to pick because you just know all the good cards. And there it becomes really interesting, like what is your exceptional, what is your elite. I think that that's even more important in beta than in Arthurian Legends.
Yeah, and I guess as we're on the subject of splashing, it's been pointed out that like Arthurian Legends has a lot more double threshold cards than beta does. There's a bunch of just super powerful things that have single threshold that you're just gonna splash for all the time. So I don't know. Do you find that you splash even more in beta than you do in Arthurian Legends?
Yeah, in beta for me, 3 elements is standard. Like even if you can go in the fire, earth, air with all the mentioned cards, you should do it. Like, what are you going to do? Cut air out? You don't want to play with blink or grapple shots? That's insane. So it's just like, no, that is like the trinity or of sorcery. These are the 3 elements, and the only reason to not do it is really because you get pushed out into water, or you just open an amazing water bomb. They also exist. Or you really have like, I don't know, two really very committed into 2 elements that perhaps it's not worth it, but these are really exceptions.
Okay, so continuing the element ranking. So with air, the thing that I landed on was that it's the most like supportive element, I think. And with earth and fire having such good minions, I think air is in actually like really good spot in the format. So the supportive stuff that I wrote down was lightning bolt, which is really just a great removal spell, but then blink, grapple shot, and importantly, Whirling Blades is just an incredibly busted card that will just totally swing a game on its own.
Yeah, it's a good mention because Whirling Blades, I think, is one of the craziest swings that you can have in the game.
Yeah.
It does so much damage, especially if you can do it with a Sandworm or an Amazon War. That's just GG. But that's also interesting because of them, the 2 air threshold also forces you to make other decisions. So there it's quite well balanced. But like in fire, you also have like Poison Nova, which is also super swingy, etc. So yeah, Lightning Bolt, that is a difficult one because I lost games due to the 50-50. But well balanced card. But of course, the Pegasus, Plume Pegasus, 3 airborne is amazing. Cloud Spirits, again, because often the air is a supportive element, you don't want to go for that 2 air thresholds, although the card is amazing, obviously. Yeah, I think you got most of them. And yeah, of course, like the vampires, they were good back then.
Yeah.
Of course, now even better. And Highland Clansman, if you can get to 7 mana, and normally you should be able to get there if you don't overdo your top ends. Yeah, those guys, they kill a minion, or they just charge in for 5. And in the beginning, you would say out of the blue, but now it's no surprise anymore. If somebody plays air, you can expect them. So you really have to know or get ahead before you can deal with those clansmen.
Yeah, so annoying minions was the other thing. It's just like all the Void Walk and the airborne stuff are like, it's cool that they at least landed on like a pretty clear theme for air. So I feel like air is maybe like the most well-defined element in beta. Or maybe it's just the one that, I don't know. I feel like it just like sticks out. It's like, okay, this is clearly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to support the big minions and the other elements, and then it's supposed to like have all this kind of annoying stuff. And yeah, air's really cool. It shouldn't be underestimated. I feel like it's kind of left behind a little bit, and it's like the most middle element in both beta and Arthurian Legends, but it's like powerful in both in both formats.
Yeah, you also have the roaming monster, which is actually also very, very decent to good because of the one threshold. And like to the end game, basically it can kill any 3-part minion. So yeah, roaming monster is a very good card.
All right, and that brings us to water at the bottom. So basically, I looked through all of the ordinary and exceptional minions, and they all just kind of suck. So there's not a single good minion at 4 or more mana, which is really disappointing. So the waterbound stuff is like everything that's 4 or more mana, I think, has waterbound. So it's Pirate Ship, Sea Serpent, Giant Shark, and then this one doesn't literally have waterbound, but it has 0 power if it's not on water. Ennui, Undyne. Those like should be all like incredible minions, but it turns out like they work better in the pre-constructed decks where it's 100% water. Where yeah, you just can't really do that in draft. I mean, maybe water's open enough that you can go 100% into water, but like who wants to take that chance of trying to just like force 100% water? Like so yeah.
Honestly, I met a guy once who did it, and he had like 4 pirate ships and 3 sea serpents, and that was not easy. But yeah, so now it would be different because we should also talk about the avatars, of course. And the Waveshaper is the way how you can flood your opponent's sides. Now, the sad thing when I played with Sorcerer and Waveshaper, the very sad thing is that Sorcerer just beats Waveshaper, very unfortunately. So even if you could tap a minion and you could flood, it would just get behind, and it's so sad. We try to make it work, but in the end, like if you can stall the game and Sorcerer just draws 4, 5, 6, 7 more cards, then you will not make it. So for me, after testing, and I can say I'm a water expert by now, like everything that has water bound, do not play it. It is just a trap, and it's so sad because Pirate Ship 4 mana for a 5-part minion. Are you kidding me? And then you think like, okay, but then at the very minimum, it can be as defense, right? No, that is not right, because that is only correct if you are completely 100% in water. The moment that you're not 100% in water, which is all the time, the moment that you play one land side, they will get all the damage in there and you will just not be able to reach it. So the only other option is if you play with flood or with silence. Then if you would have 2 floods in your deck, then of course if you can get like 4 pirate ships, 4 sea serpents, then I would say okay, have fun, good luck, go for it. But don't forget that you're also sacrificing 1 or 2 cards for this to make it happen. But then of course if you can batter them down with a huge army of pirate ships. So my rule is just do not do it. If you want to do it, if you have to play with them, what I do is when I move forward, I just make 1 line of water sides. So at the bare minimum, then you know that they have to pass your water. So if you want to play with Drown, for instance, which I never do, because it's just not certain enough, which is strange because Bury is strong, Drown is not. Why? It's very simple, because 3 of the 4 elements are land sides and there's only 1 water side. So they figured out they will deal you damage on your lands and you will just die with your drowns and pirate ships in hand. This said, if you take this into consideration and do not play with waterbound, I think the cards that are, for me, from the ordinaries, the Sedge Crab, which is 1 for 3 mana. I mean, if you think of Bostrel being 2 mana for 3 power, and this one is 1 mana for 3 power, that is absurd. It's so strong. And everybody is like, yeah, but it can only move sideways. That is true. But how many times am I able to actually cast a side next to my opponent's side? It really happens a lot. And then the Sedge Crab is just very quickly there to deal a lot of damage. It also is a very good answer to Bostrel. It's very cheap. And of course in with blinks etc. Your set cards can blink. So I'm in love with set cards. Everybody laughed with me for a long time, but I think they're amazing. And the other card is Tufted Turtles. That card is so good for the very simple reason it can block an Amazon warrior if you play it well. And if you play against it, those turtles, they will annoy the hell out of you because it's not only the turtles, there's always an extra blocker just to make sure that the turtles survive, etc. And a card like Swan Maidens, which is just 2 mana, simple threshold for an airborne submerge, that's always a good card. So I think those are the 3 ordinaries that actually are very playable, and even something like a polar bear, which actually can jump to the other side, is definitely more than playable. You can really make your opponent's life annoying with it. A Coral Kelpie, it's a standard 3/3. That's fine. And then Ice Lance, it was a little bit annoying that it was not buffed, was the other one, decreased, because now in the beginning, nerfed, thank you. In the beginning, it would shoot 3, 2, and 1, and then it was really, really good. But even starting with 3 damage on the caster's location, it still has its place to being an okay, good card. It's a bit more difficult to time it, but it is a finisher. So those are the cards that I look at when I play water. But if you want to go deep in water, you really have to have it from your exceptionals, elites, or uniques.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry to go that far in water, but I love water.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I listed the 2 drops as being like pretty replaceable. Like, I do agree. Like the Swan Maidens, I think, is like the best 2 drop that.
Yep.
I will like put that over probably all of the other ones, but like Felbog Frogman, Muck Lamprey, Old Salt Anchorman, Ormond Harpooners, Polar Bears, Naiads, Unlindial, like they're all just 2 mana, 2 power, and their ability like isn't really good, but it's like just like a tiny little bit better than just a 2 mana, 2 power minion. And it's just like they're just so replacement level. Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty sad to see. And then the 3 drops, like there's like a couple that are like 1 power, like the Deep Sea Mermaids and the Fey Changeling. But then there's some good 3 drops, like the Tufted Turtles, the Sea Raiders, the Guile Sirens, and then the Coral Reef Kelpie and the Bullfrog are all really good. And reasons to, some of them are double water threshold, and you actually need to play double water for those actually good cards. But yeah, for the most part, I'm just splashing water for like a Syrian Hydra or something, and a Tufted Turtles, and I just don't play water very often in beta, and it's probably just because I don't have enough experience like you do, where you can actually figure out some strategy that works. But yeah, I also see Waveshaper as like, basically, I really, really want to have a Waveshaper if I'm going to play water as a primary element.
Yeah, but now it has shifted. So now if it's Spellslinger and I see a Waveshaper, I go for it. Like, especially if it's a bad Arthurian Legends. Like, Waveshaper is so much better than a Spellslinger. That is a given for me. Of course, you have to know a little bit how then to abuse water. With Sorcery it was not true, but now with Spellslinger it's definitely true. There is also like this funny combo, especially also with Koinixies, if you go into Arthurian Legends, with Mariner's Curse, which if whenever a minion enters an affected water site, submerge it. And then there is this other card, the Unland Eel, that says when it's submerged, it may drag another minion there. So that is actually a 5 mana combo that you can, if your opponent is on your turf, you can Marine's Curse and then play the Eel, and it will submerge and kill any minion. It will come back to hand, etc. So there are some funny things to do, but it's very marginal. It's tough to get those things running. But Sea Raiders, that card is crazy. Like, that is like, you really have to kill it, because drawing extra cards from your opponents and searching through them and casting the best one, that is really, really good.
I am curious about Floodplain. Like, if you're playing water as a primary element, do you just have to slam Floodplain every time you see it because you just need to be able to flood their sites? Like,
no, because it doesn't work. Like if you have to flood them, it's because you have water-bound creatures. But what are you going to do? Floodplain is until the end of turn,
Yeah.
so you can flood it, then you can attack with your pirate ship, and then in their turn, your pirate ship is disabled. Yeah, and it doesn't fight back, so that is just not an option. Floodplain is not the answer.
Okay. Okay, I think we've talked enough about water. Any final thoughts on water?
Well, yeah, I love it. As you can see, I have a passion for it. So I was very happy with Arthurian Legends because, yeah, the curve spiked. But just if you're a beginner, new to the game, if you want to have an alpha draft somewhere, just avoid water. Just don't do it as you can. If you really have to, just stick to the ordinaries that we just said. Make sure that you only have the one threshold good ones, and then you will be okay. They are playable. Like, yeah. Tufted Turtles is just a good 3-drop, and it happens to be in water.
All right, so I have element pairings on here, but I just wanted to list it because I listed them in Arthurian Legends, and it like some of them kind of made sense, and there was some synergy there, but in beta, like there's really no reason to look at the element pairings. Like it's just whatever 2 elements are the most open and what bombs you open and stuff like that are going to determine what elements you want to draft, and there's not really any synergy for you to look through.
Yeah, as said in the beginning, like Fire Earth is just like if you get all the good Fire Earth cards, it's so simple. Because water is out, you only have those 3 elements, and this you probably play with all of them. So that is just the reality. You could really go for an aggressive fire deck with spin attacks, etc., which has been done, and that is no joke also, with leap attack, etc. And then you could go for 2 colors, low curve, etc. But overall, I think what I saw work best are just the 3 elements.
All right, and then we should touch base on splashing. We talked about this a lot in our like draft fundamentals episode. We talked about it in Arthurian Legends. The ways to splash in beta are the 2 element sites that are at exceptional. Those are obviously very good for splashing, and then there's like a color out of space and a pristine paradise, which in our last game I flipped pristine paradise into the middle of the board with a Geomancer, and it just like completely lost me the game. That was so rough.
What are the odds?
Yeah. Do you like pristine paradise generally?
It's too risky. So it is playable for sure. I mean, you really can move sideways and just put it in the corner, and you will probably be safe. And thus, it's a very good card. Like if I pick it up on turn 6, 7, sure, I'll put it in my deck, but you don't need it. Even if you play the 3 elements, probably you are in double threshold for earth and fire, and you are in single threshold for air. You don't need it if you do the 5-5-2 rule, more or less. And then it really depends on the cards. If you have a whirling blades, then yeah, you probably will have air as your second element. So yeah. So will I play Pristine Paradise? Probably. But the moment that they can get there, and then you just cry.
Okay, that's what I was hoping you were gonna say. I was hoping I wasn't a total clown for putting a Pristine Paradise in my deck.
Yeah, but who does this with Geomancer? That's
Well, come on. Only flipping a couple sites, you know? There's only one site that I flip in the front, and of course that was it.
We had some 1 in 9, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so then we should talk about the special slot in the beta pack. So 1 slot in every pack is either one of the 4 ordinary sites, or it's one of the 4 beta elemental avatars. So we're talking village, desert, tower, and river. And then the elemental avatars are Geomancer, Flamecaller, Spark Mage, and Waveshaper. And then for some reason, they decided to put Sorcerer in this slot, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But first, we can talk about the sites. How about that? How do you rank the sites?
So River is the last. So just to say, all four are amazing. Huh? Those are very good abilities, which I liked from the start. Like, wow, sites that do something for free. Wow, that's super cool. Like the river in magic terms, to be able to scry one just for your, just have a look and decide whether you want it or not. That is amazing. But when testing it severely, like the deserts are just overpowered. To be able to do one damage, and it's not one damage to a minion, it's to all the minions. And just to be clear for newer players, you don't have to. I mean, you will never have negative effects from it. You can always choose just to not do the genesis or just target it on the side itself. So you will never have to kill something of your own first. But just having one damage, and in the beginning, like the first 4, 5, 6 turns, you can reach nearly anything if your opponent is advancing to you. And consequently, that means that all the one-part minions suck because of deserts. So one-part minions should be very fast. They should be cheap. They should have an instant effect. But with deserts, like the flying scarabs, so they are 2 mana for the 1 power airborne, the flying grenade. I stopped casting them not in the first 4 turns because with deserts they would always kill it, and you can just know that they just have it in hand. So desert is amazing. It also lets you trade up if your sandworms attacks the Amazon warrior, and you can play the desert afterwards. So many good things of deserts. And then afterwards, I think so. Villages create humans, the soldiers. Then you got the towers. I would say I would rank towers second, just because of the acceleration. I remember one of my opponents on the play casting a sandworm on turn 3 because of a tower, and then on turn 4 another sandworm, and on turn 5 an Amazon warrior. If you're on the draw, that means you just die.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do anything. That is just way too powerful, and that is what the tower does. So it just accelerates you so fast and so hard that it can be game breaking. Overall, I would say the villages is better between brackets because you get humans, it can block, it helps you out. But because of the villages, sometimes you have to move forward to be able to, and then you lose them. Towers are just always good, and I think it's well balanced that you can only have it once for one of the 3 towers you have. But even that is enough. You will always be able to get 2. Or if you play with air, you will play with the clansman. What I did is I would always keep 1. So if you are at 5 mana, you can always just, so you stay at 5 mana until you draw a clansman, and then you just put the tower, you're at 7, and you just charge in. And then if you would have a second clansman, then you're just 1 mana away from it. So yeah, towers are amazing. So for me, it's really desert, tower, village, and then river.
Okay. Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, obviously deserts get played a ton in constructed, and towers are in basically every air deck. Will play like 3 towers, maybe even 4 or 5. So yeah, that's not really surprising. Villages don't really see much play. I think they see some play in like Geomancer or Pathfinder if they're like really only in 1 or 2 elements. And then rivers basically don't see any play in constructed. So I think that pretty much matches up well with the draft format. Yeah, it is pretty sad that like water, like the water side, I think is worse just for its ability, and it's also in the worst element. Just kind of a downer, but okay. Yeah.
I just think they didn't realize the effect of submerge and being only 1 water side versus 3 land sides. I don't think they just didn't realize. And then I think if you don't know it, then you have pirate ships and sea serpents. They are so good. So yeah.
Okay, and then oh yeah, I listed on here, I take sites pretty low because of what you mentioned about like it's pretty hard to get to 24 spells sometimes because there's a bunch of junk in the packs. Speaking of which, if you want to watch my video about the beta cube that I created, I basically am simulating packs of beta, but I took out all of these junk cards. So I wish I could just do that in like the beta packs that are on TTS and we could just draft with that all the time. But yeah, and Yeah, this is the reason why I take sites a little bit lower, which is hard to do, honestly, because some of the sites are so powerful. But I think it might be better to take like a worse power level, just like spell, than to take a site and then end up having to put some like complete junk in your deck as your 24th spell. So that's kind of where I'm at on sites. What do you think about that?
The thing is, like, normally you will get there on your 2 drops, like the fillers. As you say, like an Alt Anchorman, I don't think it's a great card, but is it that much better than the Hounds, the Scented Hounds, or whatever? So I don't know. So I think towers are actually very important. But yeah, I will never pick it on a turn 4. But on a turn 7, like I would consider it. Like towers really mess you up, and you want to have as many deserts and villages as you can. But everybody does this, so it's around that, yeah, pick 8, etc. Like, so now in the beginning, I would pass 2 drops. If it's vanilla 2 drops, I would then start to take some, yeah, deserts or villages. But you have to count every time and be careful a little bit, and then adjust perhaps in the second or third pack.
Okay, and then let's talk about the elemental avatars. So we can rank those as well, but I think I can handle this ranking. It's Geomancer is really, really good. I think it's just amazing in like every single Earth deck. Like at first I was like, maybe do you need to play like 6 or 7 Earth sites for this to be good? But it turns out like you can just play 5 Earth sites and be totally fine playing Geomancer. Like you just never have to draw a site basically. And the extra mana really matters in this format. So getting to 7 mana earlier than your opponent is like a pretty big game. So Geomancer is amazing. Waveshaper, interestingly, is like really important for the water deck. Obviously, if you only have 5 water sites, I don't think it's very good. But if you are like primary water, then you kind of might need a Waveshaper, or it is very powerful. I mean, you have a lot more experience than me about Waveshaper, so you can talk about that. And then Flamecaller and Spark Mage, I have just like a weird relationship with, where it's just really hard to tell if it's better than just playing Spellslinger and having 1 extra card, because half of the games you just won't end up ever activating the thing and actually getting value out of it. Like, but all the time your opponent does have to play around you. So I don't know if that's worth the card though. So I don't really know about Flamecaller or Spark Mage. I think you need like 15 or 16 threshold on minions for the Flamecaller, and like 15 or 16 threshold just like on any spells for Spark Mage. Where do you land on these avatars?
Well, I think it's important to understand what we are comparing it to. So we are comparing. So if we compare it to sorcerers, it's very easy. They are not good. Just play sorcerer. Very simple. But if you compare it to Spellslinger, it is different. So that means Spellslinger starts with 1 card extra. So do you get compensation for that 1 card? But that is actually not enough. That is what I thought in the beginning, because then you could say Spark Mage, sure, like yeah, you even if you could cast a Cloud Spirit, you deal 2 damage to something nearby, you can kill something extra, it gives you opportunity, and then the second time that you can do it, that is just you won. That's like you just you have your second card. But the thing of Spellslinger is like having 3 cards in your hand, or start with 4 cards in your hand. That really makes a lot of difference. You just have way more information. You have way more combinations in your hand to think about. And you don't have them if you have only the 3 cards. And that is something I didn't realize in the beginning. And so I think the advantage only starts around turn 5, 6, 7. For instance, if you look at the Flamecaller and the Spark Mage, in the beginning, the first 5, 6 turns, you are just placing sites on the board, or you're drawing the sites. So you will not, like if you would do that before with a Flamecaller, that also, so let's zoom in on Flamecaller first. So that means first you have to have fire minions already in play, they have seen combat and they died. Then you have like a mini bolt, which is good. Like I would say Flamecaller, the moment that you can use it and gain advantage, just do it. But of course that then has to be better than placing a side down. So it really takes a long time. So Flamecaller, I think around turn 6 you can start thinking about it, or if you really are in trouble, you could use it, but then not placing your site is also trouble. So Flamecaller is for me the worst out of the four. And same thing goes for Spark Mage. Like, you will not start using this unless you really have to, but that means you're in trouble already. So I don't see it. And then to get 2 cards advantage out of this, that if you're then in turn 10, 11, 12, then perhaps. The Flamecaller and the Spark Mage have the effect that it's a finisher also. But honestly, just take the extra card. It's so easier. You will just, because you have to battle against somebody who has that extra card, right? If they play with Spellslinger. So not easy. Geomancer is different because, as you say, even with the 5 cards, even if you can replace 2 sites, those are 2 sites, and that is the same word as a card in hand, because the other players will have to draw a site. You will just have to draw less sites. You will draw more spells. So there it evens out. And what you then gain with Geomancer is tempo. You just will have your sites quicker on the board. And then because you will gain your card back, you actually just are faster. Waveshaper is, again, most difficult one because you have to have your body of water, which means that you have to, if you can, play it where you stand, because otherwise you will have to move. But that then means also that your site before you also needs to be a water site, because otherwise your body of water is not going anywhere. So that is not easy. If you are in 2 or 3 elements, you do not want to spend your first 2 or 3 turns casting water sites. So that makes Waveshaper more difficult. But if you can figure that out and have a pot of water, then I think Waveshaper is the strongest of all. Because as you said in the beginning, the tempo of beta, especially with Spellslingers, is slower. And then if you can survive the first 6 turns, having an avatar that can tap any minion, more or less, because if they are attacking you, they will be near your body of water, and you will be able to tap them down. And then it doesn't matter how big their minion is, you will always have their biggest minion on lockdown. Even because what does the Spellslinger do? Drawing sides, going in for 1 damage, then I rather lock down your Amazon Warrior for free. And the thing is, it can also zone out certain areas. So Waveshaper, although I think the most difficult one, is actually the most powerful one. If I see it in the beginning, I will take it and I will go for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I'm glad I have permission to just never play Spark Mage and Flamecaller again. Like, yeah, like the 16-ish threshold that I said, like, that's like my bare minimum to play it and consider it. And I've done that, and I've always been kind of disappointed. Like, I will sometimes get like 1 card of value worth of the ability, but then of course, like, you would have had that 1 card of value at the very beginning of the game if you just had a Spellslinger. So yeah, it's kind of sad. And Spark Mage also, you might have to move up to even use its ability. So it's
Yeah. Now, I must say, so it's really different if you're going to go for mixes. So if you do Beta Arthurian Legends, like in the beginning, I think on my first pick I took a Spark Mage, and then I went for 2 teleports and 3 Arc Lightnings, and it was the easiest 3-0 that I got. It's like the game ended super fast. Just teleport with 4 mana, teleport next to the avatar and start picking with every spell. But if it's just beta, it's just not impactful enough. And there, at least you could say the Flamecaller, you can build up to 5 power, right? And then you can take out a big minion. But the problem with Flamecaller is, like, you have to be in the right diagonal, etc. And in beta, you have a lot of sites, so they will find a place where they can hit you with an Amazon Warrior, and then you have to blink, etc. So it's just not easy. It's just too difficult.
Yeah, like Spark Mage is in air already, so it has access to teleport and blink, whereas Flamecaller, I think you really want to be in air because of those cards, and it's just not guaranteed that you're going to be in those elements. So yeah, that's kind of sad. But yeah, I can see it with Arthurian Legends in the mix. Like, there's a lot more double threshold cards that are very good. There's also stealth, which Spark Mage gets around stealth. So yeah, okay, I will I will keep that in mind. I won't completely just abandon these cards, but Flame Color is kind of on the ledge. It might just never get in my deck ever again. Okay, and then let's talk about Sorcerer. So I guess I kind of followed your lead in banning Sorcerer from beta. So do you want to talk a bit about your experience with
Sure.
having Spellslinger as the default, but then having Sorcerer just get opened so often? So I guess first I'll say it gets opened, I think, 1 in every 17 packs, because it's either one of the sites or one of these elemental avatars or spells or Sorcerer. And that's just way too often. So if you're drafting 3 packs of beta with 8 people, you're going to open 24 packs. That means you're going to open like 1.5 Sorcerers on average. So someone's just always going to have Sorcerer in a pool.
No.
So yeah, tell me how that has gone. Fast.
So, for me personally, I will always follow Eric Curiosa's rules. So, if it's a real tournament, an alpha draft, a beta draft, I would always allow Sorcerer. It is, they built the game, it is in there, you should be able to play it. So I would never ban it. So if I would ban it, I only consider this for more casual games, and for people who play a lot. And why do I think that Sorcerer is still okay? Because it's not easy to play. Like the whole thing about, like, what does Sorcerer? It lets you draw 2 cards at a certain moment, but that moment is not in the beginning. So first you have to build up to your 6 mana, and then only with 2 and 4, 3 part, an average of spells of 3. That's what I wanted to say. So if you draw 3 casting costs, you can play both of them, and that is what you want to achieve with Sorcerer. But if you have many 5-part minions or 7-part minions, you can also get stuck in your hand. So there is really some level of expertise that you have by playing Sorcerer a lot to be able to really get that crazy advantage. Given said that, if you play on our Sorcerer at the Core Discord with all these amazing players who have all this ton of experience, yes, then Sorcerer is really overpowered, as we have seen and tested. And then when it's more casual, then we say, okay, let's not play with it because that's less fun. And thus, because to give you a reward when you get that 1 in 17, you are a bit lucky. Then we just say that you can choose any of the other avatars, or basic or ordinary avatars. So at least you have a good card. That is what we land on. But some people really dislike it. They just ban it completely. But I also know players that actually miss it, that really love the, oh no, with Sorcerer we just had more opportunities. Now if you're behind with Spellslinger, there is no way to come back out of this. Which is actually kind of true. So with the Sorcerer you could find more solutions. So honestly, I think Sorcerer is an amazing card. It was meant and put there to have an amazing game. Also, if you think in Magic terms, drawing cards is just like, that's crazy. It's like you get so much advantage, and that's what I think they wanted also with Sorcerer, to draw a lot of cards and be able to play it. But now I think, honestly, for especially newer or meteor players, the Spellslinger does its thing. The 4th card gives you enough information, and with the split between Atlas and Sorcerer, spellbook, you can draw all the spells that you want at the moment that you want them. So that's fine. I don't know if that's quite a lot, but I think playing Sorcerer is really a skill on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad that we have it as a wild card right now. I've tested it out with other things, like having the alpha avatars as the wild card or whatever, but people have been preferring the beta avatars to be the what you get when you draft a Sorcerer. Yeah, I used to say, like, I think Sorcerer is my least favorite card in Sorcery because it just sets like such a benchmark for all of the other avatars, and unfortunately it just like powers out so many more interesting avatars. Like I feel like the constructed meta would be a little bit more interesting if there just wasn't a Sorcerer, because you just have to get more creative and really use your avatar's ability to your advantage.
Yeah, but anyway. So there is a big difference if I have a Sorcerer and you have a Sorcerer. because then we are on equal footing, and then what it unlocks is basically the choice to go really aggro with really low curve, small minions going fast, and that counters actually the slow mid range. I have a big minions and powerful minions. Because I know, we talked about this in Arthurian Legends, about the Fomorians, 7 mana, huge minions, but they're just too late. You get the same bit of the same effect if you have an aggro deck against you and you're just stuck with your clansmen and you just die before you can overpower them. So that is actually something nice and that I miss a little bit. But if it's Sorcerer against anything else, good luck. That is just unfair.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate. Yeah, if you watch my how I won the limited championship video, I was lucky enough to just first pick Sorcerer in the top 8 draft, and didn't feel great about doing it. Obviously, it felt great at the moment, but it's like, yeah, like it's just such a massive advantage. Like I'm just gonna play defensively, get into the late game, and I'm just gonna double draw every turn from then on and just win from just pure card advantage.
And that is actually exactly what happened. You feel the moment, you feel it turning in the game where it slows down, and then it's like tucked, and then it takes like 2-3 games, 2-3 turns, and it's just out of control.
So yeah, if you haven't done these drafts and you're in a play group that is trying to get into it, or maybe you've been struggling with this issue, like maybe consider banning it for your casual play group. If you're a tournament organizer, I don't know, it's up to you if you want to mess with the beta packs or not. But it is a real issue. Like it's only in the packs because it used to be the default avatar for draft. Everyone just played Sorcerer at the time, and it was just a dead card originally in the draft format. So I don't feel too bad about banning it because like it was always meant to be a dead card, and now at least we're giving it some utility and saying that it's a wild card. But yeah, that's just kind of where we've landed on it. Any other Sorcerer comments?
No.
All right. And then, yeah, this is a good time to talk about the alpha draft, I think. I have no experience drafting with Sorcerer as a default, and you can just put as many deserts and towers and stuff in your deck. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, I think it was amazing. Like every site you play has an effect. Deserts are crazy. Like opening, I think every alpha draft starts with a village. Like everybody has a soldier from their first turn.
Yeah.
But then it took us a bit of time to understand that soldier should stay put because otherwise it would always be deserted away. So yeah, I think the ordinary sites were all amazingly cool to play. Alpha is the same as beta. I think Eric's curious. I don't think anybody would play that, and I think then they're just the avatars that are slightly different. But they're also, without doubt, the sorcerer is way more dominant than any of the other 4. I think Avatar of Ares is one of the best for constructed. But that's just not happening, I think. So if you just open them, you're very happy to pull them, I think, because they are worth some money. For the rest, yeah, playing with Sorcerer and the default sites, if you don't know this, and you're looking for something new to do, I would definitely recommend it to play it. Draft with it, just Sorcerer as default with those ordinary sites, and you will see how different the game is. So one of my lessons in the beginning was really Sorcery. What makes it different as a game is the placement of your sites and your minions. And in the beginning, I always went like a T, right? I would go up and then go sideways, and then it would guarantee that I would have 10 mana, because in beta or alpha, it's very important to get to that 6, 7, and sometimes 8 mana. So you just do not want to get cut off. But because it would be open like this, then I would get attacked from one side, and I would overpower on one side, and then small minions would start hitting me from the other side, and I would just die with my overpowered minions or better minions, and this would really confuse me in the beginning. And I was like, okay, the side placement and the tempo is actually way more important with Sorcerer, and you can really go aggro, which is different. Like in Arthurian Legends, everything is aggro. It's just with the lances and the airborne minions and just what's happening there. But in Alpha, it was not that clear. You just had beefy minions, and you would just overtake with your beefy minions, and then in the end, you would have 1, 2 minions more, and your opponent would die. But so less true when it's all spread out, and cards like Border Militia that just flood 4, 5, 6 tokens really could stall the game. So yeah, I think the alpha draft. So I really consider it as a format on itself, and honestly, I love playing it. I think there is a real extra skill to it that I don't find in a Spellslinger. So yeah, it's a different game, and it deserves its rightful place. I know people that dislike it. I like it. I know other people that really like it. So I would say test it out. And sometimes on the server we still do it. That I force people to play with Sorcerer, because of course, in comparison with Spellslinger, it is just unfair. So there I agree. But even in constructed, like Sorcery is not what is driving the meta. So just drawing 2 cards, it's not always what really makes the difference. It is how you play them, when you play them, and how do you grow your sides. I've lost games with Sorcerer because I decided to really go full aggro, double drawing with not enough mana, and then losing because my opponent took more time to build to 7 mana. And the moment I needed it, I was so behind that I did not have the time to place my sides. That is really an extra skill to know how to get there in a safe way. So I think it's amazing. I think it's right, but then it should be fair.
So was the knowledge at the time that you do want to just get to like 5 or 6 sites and then double draw, or was it really like people were playing like 7 drops and 8 drops and stuff even when Sorcerer was the default?
No. I told everybody in the beginning, you have to go to 5 mana and then you figure it out.
Yeah.
And then it would be like you would start drawing more, and then you would see, hey, I cannot play all these cards. And then it's like you have to then find that spot to go to 6, or then with the towers to 7, go 6 again, etc. So, no. Because, in the beginning, like newer players, they would just draw a side, play a side, draw a side, play a side, and just to continue. But no, 5 mana is where you really start to have to think what is coming or what is happening.
Okay. I think maybe I'll start putting it in the poll for the US drafts. If people want to do an alpha draft sometime, then we can certainly do that. Okay. So the final topic I had was for us to like rank the set, and we can kind of rank multiple sets, I think. So maybe we should actually start with Arthurian Legends, since we did all of our Arthurian Legends content already and we never really ranked the set. Maybe we did at the end of our last set review, but I think my letter grade for Arthurian Legends, I'm going to start kind of low, but I'm going to give it like a B-. And part of the reason I don't have it higher is because it's just not like a very big set. So then it is like pretty repeatable. Like you kind of can do the same thing every time. And I don't know. I just want like a bit of a deeper format and also a lot more synergy. That's the reason I'm starting kind of low, is because I'm really hoping like Gothic and future sets will start having like pretty clear like color pairs and synergies within an element itself, like the undead stuff that they're doing in Gothic, it seems. I'm really looking forward to that kind of thing. And Arthurian Legends did have like good gameplay, but I think maybe like the draft experience was like a little bit flat at times. So yeah, that's where I'm starting. What do you think?
Difficult question, because if that is where we start, so I think I will follow you. I mean, if I have to draft 3 boosters of Arthurian Legends right now, I know I will have fun. Yeah. Although I've seen all the combinations and all the things, nothing surprises me more, but still there is this pace of the game, and so I still love it. I think it's still a very well balanced limited set, and of course the cards are good for constructed as well. So I think let's not start too high, and then B- seems appropriate. Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you rank beta and alpha, since I have less experience with that.
So So if I start with the alpha, which means sources and all the ordinary sites, I would then. So it was not really meant to be limited. It was just their first set and a lot of great ideas and concepts, etc. Which unfortunately then such a big chunk of the cards fell out because they're just not draftable. So yeah, my gut feeling says like C plus. I think. I think I because as what we talked about is during this whole session is like if you know what you're doing, you can actually build amazingly strong decks, and if you do that with a lot of people, yeah, you will not. I still have fun playing the alpha. I was very happy to do it again at Sorcery Fest. Then for the beta done with the Spellslinger, that is less. Then I would always prefer to have the mix. I think the mix one beta to Arthurian is better because you have really cool cards in beta, but then you have the power of Arthurian Legends. So that's why, and also you just have more stuff to think about. So there, I would always go for the mix. If I really have to compare them set by set, then I think I would then go for a C to a C minus even. Probably just C.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much where I am exactly. I think I'm like more interested in beta or alpha right now than I am in Arthurian Legends, just because I've just done that more. But I think if I were to have drafted as much beta as I have for Arthurian Legends, like I probably just wouldn't really like it quite as much. Even though it is like a lot deeper, it's a lot more interesting. There's positive and negatives. I don't know. It's really hard to say, but I guess I would put like one beta to Arthurian Legends as like a B, though. It is just definitely better than drafting 3 packs of Arthurian Legends. It's definitely better than drafting 3 packs of beta. So yeah, that is the prevailing format right now is one beta to Arthurian Legends for sure, at least in our play groups. Okay, that is the last subject that we had. Any final thoughts or anything that you want to bring up?
No, I think that covers most of it. I think. No, I mean we all started with beta. It's such an essential part of what we are doing here. So just to say, I love the game and all the mechanics and like getting it out on Kickstarter and just getting these ideas and all the issues with the rules, etc. Like that is just part of creating an awesome game, and all of these things get ironed out. The balance will come and crazy cards will go. So looking forward to Gothic. It's also for them a learning experience, and I think Sorcery beta or alpha was amazing, so well constructed, and the idea of the whole sport setup, that's what drew me in. I would never have expected it to be that interesting actually, because honestly when I heard there is no interaction, it's like what, Hearthstone on a board, etc., but it is actually way more in the combination or the placement and the strategic position of your pieces. So yeah, I think I love alpha, beta, and Arthurian Legends.
All right. Yeah, I guess we should mention the draft. So I host the Wednesday evening draft, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on the US side of the Sorcerers at the Core Discord. So if you want to join a draft, you can message me on Discord. And do you want to plug your drafts?
Sure. Yeah, so same for me. I organize and I host the drafts on Tuesday evening European time. Everybody's always welcome, whether you're new beginner, haven't drafted any. It doesn't matter. We just have fun. And perhaps as a funny side note, we also have a ranking system on the Sources at the Core Discord. And the funny thing is that actually me and Mitch are tied right now. We are on the #1 spot tied. And this is only thanks to a pristine paradise.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, so watch out for our next video. I think we're going to do the beta ordinaries. We might break it out into ordinaries and then do exceptionals. I'm not really sure. We're gonna have to figure it out. I need to count like the amount of cards and stuff because there's a lot of cards in this set. Okay, yeah, I think with that I will call it a show. So thanks for joining me, Nick.
Yeah, same. Thanks for having me. Love talking about these things. Looking forward to the next one.